What's up, party people? BV here, and welcome to another episode of Retail Media Vibes, a doing business in Bentonville podcast. I'm here today in a little bit of a different location. You normally see me in the studio, but here we are at Heroes Coffee in Pinnacle Hills, Rogers, Arkansas. And we're going to have a great podcast with some fine guests talking about a topic that I think is very timely in this time of year. We're going to be talking about breaking into the workforce in the age of AI. And so we've got a great panel, and I'll introduce them here in a second. But, you know, as we think about the time that we are in our industry, if we think about the time we are in the workforce, I think there's a big group of people that have a lot of concerns, a lot of questions, and that is probably students, right? Students that have gone to university for 4+ years, depending on obviously their major and what they're trying to do with their schooling. And so they're trying to break into the workforce, right? And that's a challenge all on its own, right? So how do you transition from what you've learned in university and then apply that specifically to your first job? And sometimes that takes a little bit of a turn, right? Sometimes what you went to school for, you don't end up with as your first job. In the audience, how many of you actually are working in a field that you went to school for? Several, right? Not all. About 50, right? 50%. I am not. So it's really, really interesting. Hot mic. As we think about the workforce and the changes to the workforce, and we think about, what students are going through, that's really the focus of this podcast today, is really figuring out, what is it going to take to break into that workforce. So I'm going to introduce my panel. So I have some amazing guests. First, I have from the University of Arkansas, I have Dr. Velliquette. Hello, Ann.
Hi.
I also have Karson Feuerbacher as a student currently at the University of Arkansas.
Big proud for her.
Representing the brand side, I have my good friend Sarah White, Nestlé, USA. And then representing the agency side, I have also my good friend Victoria Van Dusen from Mars United Commerce.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm not going to give you the background of all these fine individuals. I'm going to let them do that for themselves. So I just want a short version of who you are, what you do, or what you will be doing, all right, for the student, entering into as you enter into the workforce. So, and maybe, how about, what was your first job? How about that? Think about that. So let's go ahead and start to my left with Victoria.
Great. Hi there. I'm Victoria Van Dusen from Mars United Commerce. I am the SVP of Retail Consultancy for the Bentonville Club Channel, which means I lead a full team of about 55 people that service our brand clients on how they are doing business and advertising and marketing with the retailers. My first job was an English high school teacher.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So definitely did not get my degree in marketing.
Awesome. Sarah?
Okay. Sarah White. So I am the omnichannel marketing manager for Nestlé. So I support our frozen meals and global culinary kitchen divisions. I've been at Nestlé for around 18 months. So I'm actually pretty new to the brand side. I actually have worked with BV and Victoria in the past. We always find ways to come back together,
Yes.
which is amazing. So a lot of good perspective just on the brand side now, but also on the agency as well. So my first job, are we going first job?
My first job.
Oh my goodness. My very first job ever, where I had a paycheck, was I was a summer camp counselor.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. Awesome. And
Hey, yeah, Ian Velliquette. So I'm currently in a couple of different roles at the university. So I teach a marketing class to juniors and seniors. I've actually had Karson in my class before, which is awesome. She's an amazing student. So I teach a service learning class, and basically what that means is we work with an industry partner every semester. I do a shopper marketing brand challenge, which is really fun. So get engaged with different clients. Work with Hershey's. I know there's a lot of Hershey's people here this semester. That's a client we're working with. On top of that, I am our Walton College retail program director. And so I work on a lot of different initiatives with industry partners again, as well as other faculty that teach retail classes. And we're basically trying to make sure that when our students leave the university, they leave Walton College, they are ready to enter into these roles, into that retail ecosystem. And Nestlé sits on our board, retail advisory board, which is really exciting. And so I need to get Ad Fury and Mars, a little plug here, to get you guys on the retail advisory board.
I'm down.
There you go.
Yeah. And Karson.
Hi, I'm Karson Feuerbacher. I am a marketing major and business analytics minor. I will be graduating from the University of Arkansas in May. I'm currently interning at the Hershey company, and so I guess my first real world job will be starting with them this summer full time.
Oh, and I forgot to mention my back. We'll see. So.
Oh yeah.
You want to go far back? I worked at McDonald's. That was like my first paycheck.
That's
I
great.
did post-college.
Yeah, McDonald's. But as far as like out of college, my degree was marketing, and I went to work in sales and marketing for Cargill. So
Yeah. Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, mine. I worked at a gas station. So,
Okay.
Yeah, on a military base. So that's a story for another day. But all right. So, and it's an important role, as you kind of were talking about just a second ago, about to get the at the university to get students ready for their career, whatever that happens to be. What are you spending the most time on or most energy on to help students get ready for that first step?
I mean, I think one thing that is unique about the Walton College is with this ecosystem in our backyard, right? We have 1,600 vendors, Walmart, JB Hunt, Tyson, all of these companies that are available and pour into our students. So that filters into the classroom, right? So we are getting them ready by giving them as much as we can that's actual business contacts environment, really hands-on, whether it's class projects, collaborations, again, with industry partners, simulations, I don't know, any kind of experiential learning that we can do.
Yeah, that's
and that's what we're trying to do. And of course now AI is playing a part of that, right?
What?
So yeah.
AI.
Yeah.
So Karson, you're getting close to graduating, and you're getting ready to go into your first role, your first job. What are you thinking about that first role for you?
I think in terms of AI and what that's going to look like entering the workforce soon, or I guess continuing. Sorry. I feel like utilizing what I've learned in class, like we've said, like you spent 4 years getting all this content. And for me, halfway through is kind of when AI entered. Freshman year, it became a thing. But then after, we didn't really start using it in the classroom until my senior year. So, my generation trying to figure out how can we build on those tools in the workplace, knowing when it's useful, when it's not, and making sure that if I'm asked to utilize it, I know how, but I also know how to brainstorm on my own. And so navigating how that tool is going to elevate all of us and kind of bring a new baseline for entry-level workers.
Awesome. So Sarah, you mentioned there were a couple of roles that are opening up, and I'm sure you guys are looking at entry-level talent all the time. What are some of the things you look for with entry-level talent when you're evaluating, for a role? And I know it depends on the role, but
of course it depends on the role. But I think, I don't think any of us are probably looking for AI expertise. I don't know that any of us are experts right now in something that is just so unknown and ever changing. So I think we're looking for obviously AI readiness.
I like that. Actually, I like that term, AI readiness. Yeah.
Readiness. And I think, even with AI, you still need to be, have a level of curiosity. You've still got to know your craft, and you've got to be a student of your business, because you're not there to learn AI. You need to know what you're doing, right? Because you've still got to have the context in order to kind of execute our strategies and our vision. But I think, curiosity, I think collaboration, emotional intelligence is huge.
Yeah.
I think a positive attitude is another one. And my favorite is just agility. I know that's an overused word, but I think you've got to be able to bob and weave and go with all the changes that come with working in corporate and working with Walmart.
Yeah, absolutely. Retail, we've talked about in our careers about the speed of retail, right? And just what that actually means. And that a lot of it is that ability to adapt and adjust on the fly. I mean, there's so much that happens in a flash, right? Yeah. So awesome. So Victoria, when somebody's early in their career, with intern, and then they maybe move into a role, what do you typically expect from them in that first 90 days or 100 days that you have them in your office?
Absolutely. I think Sarah hit on some of that already about agility and curiosity. I think somebody to be very successful within their first 90 days, and I think this applies to any job, not agency only, is really somebody that's going to come in. They're going to ask a lot of questions. They're going to raise their hand for opportunities and really showing their own eagerness to learn, because we don't expect somebody, especially straight out of college, to know how to navigate the complexities of our specific jobs and our ways of working. So I would say it's that attitude and openness that is most important.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Curiosity for me was always a big one. Like people that come in and they're curious and they want to ask questions and they're not afraid to ask questions and they're trying to be involved in the company or the agency, obviously on the agency side of things, and trying to find ways to add value and contribute beyond just what you expect from them, right? I think is an important part. All right. So sorry. Okay. Yeah. So, all right, we're going to do a quick just round robin. Okay. And before we really get into the deep stuff, and, AI is definitely going to come up in our conversation. I think we were 2 minutes into the conversation and those two letters came up. So, but real quick, right? Just off the top of your head, how much of your day is actually talking about AI versus actually using AI? So think about that for 1 second. All right, start with Victoria.
Okay. I would say on a weekly, because it is not a daily conversation yet, on a weekly basis, I would say we're talking about AI 10% of the week. I would say I'm personally using AI 20% of my week. So I am a very elementary user, but I am trying really hard to find ways to be efficient. As far as talking about AI, we're doing a lot within my department to share how we're using AI to become more efficient. And the agency is doing a lot to train us how to use AI tools that they have provided, but also how to use them responsibly.
I think that's an important part about the sharing. The sharing part that you said, because one of the things that I've always held in my mind in my career is like, if you learn something, that is awesome, but if you don't share it with at least one other person, it's selfish. Yes. Right? You have a great opportunity to share what you learned with one other person. It just exponentially increases the adoption and how well the team can go, how far they can go. So really cool. How about you, Sarah?
Probably in a similar boat as Victoria a little bit. Oh my God, this mic. Wow. This is the pleasure of sharing. No, I would say we talk about it a lot. There's a ton of training, which is amazing. I think everybody's trying to get better. The power's in the prompt. So everyone is trying to get better at what's the right prompt? How do we integrate this into our different roles? Everybody's going to have a different unique business case to use. I would say I'm right now I'm a novice user, but I'm slowly moving ahead. I'm spending a lot of time learning and trying and experimenting on how I can fit this and delegate the tasks that are administrative or maybe the tasks that I don't want to do. Yeah. That way I reserve brain capacity for the things that I really want to invest in. So I would say I'm probably about a similar split as Victoria. Yeah.
Anne?
Yeah. So I feel like around the university, it is a daily conversation. I mean, we're constantly talking about it, whether it's in the hallway with other professors. We have an AI task force. So, of course, we're being fed information a lot. We have an exchange on Teams where we can share practices and ideas. We have an AI student club now. We have AI class projects and challenges that faculty are submitting, and there's classes that are being submitted as a first time this semester as a challenge. So I feel like daily it's being talked about. Walton College is really trying to get it across all of our departments and sprinkled throughout many of our courses. So I'm probably talking about it definitely more than I'm using it. Yeah. Again, I feel kind of like they said, I'm elementary. I'm trying to use it more. One of the challenges, I think, is that, it takes time to become proficient. and I feel like I'm tapped out with time. And so it's just hard, but I am trying. I'm trying to use it to help develop my presentations. Maybe I'm researching to look for good cases, examples, trends that I want to talk about in class. So I'm definitely using it, but it's not to the level I'd like to be.
Yeah.
And a little bit of it for me too is I'm still a bit uncomfortable with just, we hear the word slop or mistakes or hallucinations, and like
sure.
that to me is just a bit of a concern still. So, but I'm trying, just like they are.
Yeah, and I think the university has kind of a unique opportunity overall, because not only are you trying to figure out how do you get students prepared, and then also, professors using it, but what is even on the ethical side of how much AI can you use in a class, and determining how much of it is you can really truly do, and that's tough too. It is,
and I think that's the other thing that we're really trying to stress, and I do in my class as well, is we cannot lose the human touch, right? We cannot lose critical thinking skills, brainstorming original ideas, talking about exploring, curiosity. And I think that the university and the Walton College is big on saying human judgment is critical, right? We have to be using it ethically, responsibly. So,
yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out ways to do that in the classroom, like AI free zones. Like let's get together and group and collaborate. And you're not allowed to use AI for a little bit,
right? And
let's just brainstorm and dialogue on your own. And then other times where I might have them do something with AI, but then critique it and say, well, how could this be done better, or how could it look better, right? Like I told them, I'm like, I ran all of my assignments through ChatGPT. And honestly, it's like C-level work. So I'm like, you're going to have to add to that in order to enhance, what you're turning in.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Karson, how about you?
I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle. I probably spend an equal amount of time talking about it and utilizing it. The university has definitely in the past year done a good job at integrating it. So I took an AI and business course. And so I guess I was talking about it for at least like 2 hours every week, if not more. Reading books about it. And then my marketing management capstone class, the whole project, the whole semester was AI. So we were reading articles, and then had a different demographic age group that we were like analyzing to see how AI was impacting that demographic. And so I definitely feel like on my own time I'm using it, but I had phases in the past year where I was talking about it just as much, if not more.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we're all on a different journey. Obviously, I work for a company that is based on AI, so I use AI a lot and I talk about it a lot. So, but it is still a journey. Things change every single day that, has a huge impact on what AI will ultimately become, societally as well as work-wise as well. So it's a really interesting time to be in right now. All right. So we're going to pivot just a little bit, and we're going to look at like what are some general expectations around entering into the workforce, not necessarily AI specific. We'll talk a little bit more about AI later, but Karson, I'd like to start with you. We've talked a little bit, and I know you're getting ready to start a full-time role here soon, and you can reveal who that is with in a minute. But what do you expect like the day-to-day work to be like? And I know you're doing an internship too, but I love this, what your expectations are as you kind of get into your job.
I feel like, well, I'm starting full-time with the Hershey company. Really excited about that.
Congratulations.
I feel like I've already seen my team utilizing it in ways that can benefit us, whether it's like tasks that would take an hour, just like going through certain items and figuring out different nutrition labels or things like that.
Yeah.
So I definitely have seen it integrated already. I'm curious to see how that's going to change. Like I know my team is like we don't know what the next 5 years are going to look like. And so how that AI is going to become something that can make tasks more efficient, but then also seeing like what the benefit's going to be with like not only those tasks, but presentations, different things like that, more person-facing activities. I'm really excited to see how that's going to be integrated in the next 5 to 10 years.
Right. So in that job, like what excites you the most about the job besides AI? Like what excites you the most about being there?
I feel like right off the bat, I mean, I was around candy products every single day. Like that was so awesome. And then talking about it in such an intelligent way was like so eye-opening for me. But so I'm excited I'll be starting as an analyst. So I'm excited to start there and just really be with the people in the office. It's an amazing office. And then seeing how we can all collaborate together to utilize this tool that's just going to push us forward.
Awesome. So, Anne, from your perspective, what do you hear about what a student's expectations for their first job is?
About their expectations.
Yeah, what do they think they're walking into? Like when the conversations
Yeah.
that you're having, like what do they think they're walking into?
I think again, I'm just going to keep plugging Walton College, but I honestly don't know why anyone would send a kid anywhere else to get a business degree. I mean, again, with all of the people that we have in our backyard,
Sure.
I feel like we are doing a really good job of preparing them in terms of what to expect, but it's because in their college 4 years, they're going to do 1 or 2 internships with one of these companies like Hershey's, right?
Right.
Many of our classes, Brandon, you come into my class, and bless his heart because he has to teach. It's back-to-back 3 classes in a row. He keeps doing it for me. I'm afraid he's going to say no. But every semester he comes in and I have, 3 or 4 other people that come in and pour into my students, giving them expectations of like, what is the real world? What's it going to look like when you enter the job force? And so I think their expectations are probably pretty accurate based on the fact that I think we do a really good job of integrating real business context and environments in our courses. I mean, I do it in mine every semester. Again, I do a shopper marketing challenge. That's the whole course. It's based on working with an industry partner. It's basically the same as an internship. They're doing it for 17 weeks.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answered your question.
No, I think that's really, important to hit home is that, like, I think sometimes there's perception that when, students go to university, they get this academic outlook on a specific career or specific class. And, for you all to take the extra time to bring, industry, people from industry to talk about the realities, like not just, present about shopper marketing and just leave it at that. Like, hey, this is shopper marketing, but you know what? There's all of these things you really need to make sure you understand because that's going to be your reality if you get into this business. So I think it's commendable that you guys, and obviously it's great to have that available to you in this community because other areas
key, right? I mean, like I said, I don't know what I would do without I don't have to look for a client project every semester. It's like there's plenty that kind of end up coming, and then just the guest speakers and just even things like, Ben Christensen was in from Nestlé prior to you coming in, Brandon, and we had technology issues. So for like the first 10 minutes, he had to pivot because we couldn't get his slides up. So he's just talking to the students and kind of digging in. And then the tech people left after they figured it out. And he goes, big lesson right here. This is going to happen to you when you're out. You're going to be giving a presentation and technology is going to fail. And how are you going to handle that? And so be prepared. And so, it's just, I think we're very, very lucky to have people like you and Sarah and Victoria that are willing to come into our classes, willing to engage with students on other, not just projects, but whether it's mentoring or internships. Yeah.
Yep. So Victoria, when a student graduates and they come into Mars United Commerce, what expectations do they typically have coming into that environment?
Yeah, it's very interesting. So, and this may be different depending on where people go, but at the agency, because we're in a client service role, I think sometimes the expectation for entry level is that they're going to immediately jump in and do the level of work that their projects are. Whereas in reality, they're doing very basic foundational work to support the team. So entry level at an agency for us is called an account executive. They are not always client facing. They are supporting the senior managers and the directors that are doing the high level strategic work and working with clients. So I think sometimes that's a little bit of they're just really expecting to do a lot of critical thinking and a lot of creative ideating, whereas entry level, it's a lot of project management, it's supporting, it's tasks. And so there's a little bit of that it takes somebody right out of college a little bit of time and experience to understand what it is that we need them to do, because everything is a building block. Right.
Starting with
You-
first.
You gotta start at the basics of what it is the agency delivers and how we work with clients before we're gonna throw you out there to work with clients.
Right. So to me, it sounds like you've got to kind of earn your stripes before you get that opportunity to be client facing. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that makes a ton of sense, right? Because, obviously the agency client relationship is a very important one, and you can't have too many misses, hopefully zero misses. But so you want to make sure that you're setting them up for success. And there's a lot that goes into the types of work that, you do in order to ensure that happens, right? Sarah, do you see it similarly on the brand side of things, on expectations from grads?
Yeah, before I answer that, I just had a whole trip down memory lane, because Victoria was actually my first manager on the agency side.
Yes,
and I started as an account executive. This was well over 10 years ago. We don't talk about age or throw out numbers. But it was exactly that. And I just I was so eager to learn from her and really nail the fundamentals. Everything you said is so accurate. All of this builds. And I think that could probably be said of anyone's career in general. It's this great mosaic by the end of it that you build, even from the crappy experiences and the ones that were really amazing. You're going to have highs and lows. And so that's really how you kind of build your career, you build your experiences.
Yep.
But I would say starting out, so true, getting the reps in, the consistency, that builds trust, that builds competency. And confidence. Thank you. All of those things kind of work hand in hand to kind of, get to your next role. I would say the other piece of it when you're coming in is get to know your team. Go on a listening tour, understand their role, understand how you can support them and work with them to deliver your best work and learn from them. That is truly a gift to do that, especially when you're coming in and you have the time. But I think if we're keeping with the theme of AI, that will be the luxury good, handwritten notes, human connection, the old school mentality, that is going to be what is in vogue. And you can't replicate those skills on how you build your relationships, which in turn help build you. So I would just layer that on.
Yeah, I love that. And I think to layer on a little bit more, I think that goes back to what we were saying early on about being curious,
Yes.
right? Mm-hmm. And I think entry-level workers need to also realize that the people running the companies are in a very different place when it comes to technology and AI and expectations, right? You're working with Gen X managers and boomers, and they may have very different expectations than one might. So I think that tour, as Sarah talks about, of having one-on-ones with these experienced people, learning from them, listening, how can you apply that? I think that is critical. I oftentimes tell people, set up one-on-ones with everyone. Ask, what makes for a great fill-in-the-blank job title? Right. And listen to what those people have to say and think about how can you learn that? How can you apply that so that you can also be successful? And probably your conversations are not going to be around learn AI. It's going to be more of that human touch and really fundamentally understanding and applying and having critical thinking. That's right. Relationships are everything.
So Karson, any of this surprised you? What you heard?
From both Sarah and Victoria around, what they see for students coming, grads that are coming into the workforce?
I don't think it's surprising. I feel like when you sit down and think about what is going to be needed in the next 5 years, the soft skills like you guys are talking about, and then also now being at my company for a year, I feel like I've noticed the importance of relationship building, one-on-ones, all of those things. And so I definitely understand and feel very fortunate to hear that from y'all and utilize that moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's such an important part, and hopefully that's a theme that everyone picks up on in this, is that AI is an amazing technology, and it enables a lot of things for us to do as human beings. But at the end of the day, we're still human beings. We still require relationships and that connectivity. And then we use AI for certain instances, depending on the role that you have in the company that you work at and so forth. But with so much discussion about tech, sometimes we forget about the human, and like the humanity of it. I mean, my view is it's going to take an orchestration of a human being with different tools powered by AI to do the work of the future is kind of my perspective. So moving into talking about AI, the role of AI, Sarah, so when you think about hiring, is there expectation around AI and what you're expecting from people that you are hiring? And that could be not only grads, but also, just others in the workforce. Or are there questions about how do you use AI? Like how are you thinking about the AI question in that process?
No, I think probably in an entry level role, like I mentioned, like you don't need to know or be the expert on all the different platforms, all the different versions, everything that's coming out. I think that was one of the things, just personally, that initially you talked about being fearful of some of this. Like I thought I had to know all over this, like every update, everything. And like I said, AI readiness, I think, is probably what we're looking for. And then back to like the curiosity, like the attitude, the willingness to like ask questions, to connect, to do the work, is those things still ring true.
Yeah. So thank you. So Anne, like in the classroom, like how are you using AI in your classes? Like, or what are you allowed to do or say?
Yeah. So again, I think that I'm trying to have a balance,
Sure.
right? If I think about the skills that I want them to leave with, it is the curiosity, exploration. There are times when we have an AI free zone. I'm like, okay, we're going to get together in a group.
Yep.
We work in teams. And so there's
Sure.
24 teams across the 3 sections. And I want them to come up with original ideas and brainstorm, but then they can use AI to enhance that. Part of what they do in the end of this process is they end up pitching to the client. So I'm like, use AI all you need at that point in terms of putting your deck together, putting your pitch deck together, creating images, storyboards, videos,
Sure.
right? Use it after you've kind of thought through the solutions and the ideas. They've used it, a new way that we've used it, because I use qualitative data in my class, and it's a lot of data, qualitative data. And so prior to AI, that would require the individual team to get together, remember? Mm-hmm. And you would have to really talk to each other about, okay, what did you learn in your 6 to 10 interviews? What did you learn? What's the common thread? What are the common themes? Well, now we can feed those interviews into AI and get those common themes, the barriers, the pain points. We can ask for specific things to be pulled out. So I think it can make it more efficient that way. I'm trying to do a little bit of both. I mean, I want them, you talked about collaboration earlier. We do a lot of collaboration. I want them to learn to work together kind of iteratively with AI, with dialogue, with each other, with debate, to kind of come up with those ideas, of course, backed by the insights that they're getting from that qualitative data. I love using qualitative data because I think we focus a lot on big data and analytics, and I think there's so much to be said about qualitative data. So I want them to dig into that and see how that allows them to gain empathy, back to the human side of things, right? And I think another, big skill that I hope they walk away with is just the idea that they can't do things alone. They've got to synthesize information. They work in a team, and in the end, they pitch, but it's 17 weeks of work. How do you take that amount of information and put it into an 8 to 10 minute presentation with 12 slides?
Right.
That's a skill.
Yes.
And I hope they learn that as well.
I couldn't even do that for your class on Monday.
No, yeah. I think he said he told me he spent 20 hours prepping to put this together. I was like, on Easter weekend. Thank you again.
Man, don't worry about it. It's not. I enjoy it. And this is for anyone, but do any of you ever see people relying too much on AI? Right. So we talked about usage, and we're all on our journey, but it's like just use AI for everything, and maybe not getting the outputs that you would expect from them. Anyone?
Copy paste.
The copy paste.
Tell when someone
Yes,
copy pasted
absolutely.
something and they didn't even look at it.
Right.
That's why you got to be the contextual shepherd,
Yeah.
like know your business, like know the context and the filters to like just
I agree.
proofread and like look at it through that lens. I think is the copy paste. Yeah.
Yeah, where I'm seeing it showing up a little too much are client emails from more junior level associates, trying to sound very smart and sophisticated, but overdoing it, and then it doesn't make sense to the reader that actually is a subject matter expert.
Right.
So that's where I'm seeing it come in. But again, it's probably because people are new users, and that's a very easy way to use the tool. So we are talking a lot about that. Like, it's okay if you run this through AI, but make sure you understand what you're saying and read it and use your brain, because the client will call you out on that immediately.
Yeah.
So
It's weird because I was thinking about this, and if you think about all of us, we used to write on our own, right? You would write information on your own, whether it's a paper, an email, whatever, and then you would turn to certain tools to help you review it and to maybe edit it, right? And if you think about it now, what we're doing is we're using AI first, and then we're bringing the human element in to say, okay, where's the review, where's the judgment, and making sure that the context is there, that it's the written for the audience that you're intending to write it for, looking at the output in terms of like checking the facts, that kind of stuff, right? But I think it's like a complete shift. So, but for students, I really tell them they should not turn anything in without human review. I need them to edit and review it before they turn it in. So.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and just even on my own journey, in I jumped into the AI train, right from day one, and I used it a lot. But then now I have found myself kind of backing off of and starting actually from a written place and try to, because I think to use AI effectively, you need to understand context. You need to understand process. You actually need, I would even contend, you need to be smarter about your craft to use AI properly than to just use it as a crutch, right? And maybe in some cases it can fill in some gaps that you may not have. But I think Albert Einstein said, "Give me an hour to work on something. I'll use 50 minutes of it to plan what he's trying to achieve." And I almost find myself doing that. And again, it may be a mix of tools with paper and digital or whatever, and find myself going back and forth. So it does seem like there is some need to spend a little bit more time thinking about what you're doing before you even just jump right into the tool itself, right?
Love that.
All right, so let's move into like skills outside of AI that matter now, right? And so I think sometimes, and I have said this to students before, like and I think I said it even in your class on Monday, and which was, University of Arkansas is an amazing university. You can get a great education there, but don't only rely on your academic career for that first job. You have to figure out other ways to stand out. So, Sarah, when you're looking at a resume outside of the academic performance, what are some of the things that you're looking for that might stand out to you to maybe give that person an opportunity to have a conversation with you?
I think, and this is really hard to get from a resume, but like, do they have a point of view?
Right.
Like, I think, sorry, I'm going to keep with the AI theme.
That's okay.
Like,
It's in the title.
oh, right, it's in the title. I think people confuse like the novelty of things like with originality. And it's like, is your brand showing through? Like, is your point of view, are there typos on there?
Right.
Which you would, I mean, in the
be
year of our
shocked.
Lord, 2026, there are still typos on resumes. But I think some of those things are things that stand out for me. It's less about some of their technical skills. And that's just if I'm looking at something on paper. I think really, their personality and their style and brand really come through when you get to that kind of interview stage.
Yeah. How about for yourself, Victoria?
Yeah, I think those are some really good answers. And to build on that, I think what I look for, again, when I'm just looking on paper, deciding, am I going to interview this candidate or not, is have they taken the time to think about what transferable skills do they have and customized the resume to the job. Yeah. You wouldn't believe the resumes that I get that have an objective of the job that they're seeking that has nothing to do with the job they're applying for. So true. It is amazing. And I'm like,
they're just trying to cover all the bases.
Right. I'm like, do you know what you're applying for? Yeah. So, I think that's really important. And yet I can also tell when the resume's gone through AI against my job description. And I'm thinking, there's no way you did these things. Okay, that resume is out. So it's a balance, right? It's, what have you done that is transferable? And a lot of that's going to be some of the basics, because not everything is transferable to an agency job. Right. But do you have experience with running a project and project management? And a lot of that you can really tell in the bullet points of what they've done, what they've accomplished. I'm also I really look for, have you had an internship?
Okay.
Because I think that is really important. Even if it's a 3-month internship, just having a little bit of real world experience somewhat in retail is really helpful and will set a candidate apart.
Yeah. Karson, what's on your resume?
Well, I guess when I think about my resume before I got my internship, I loved being involved on campus. And so I was trying to translate. I loved how you said your brand, because that's something we talked about in one of my classes, your personal brand. So utilizing the different experiences and involvement that I had to then show what I'm interested in when applying, and then when interviewing, explain what I gained from those things so that it shows those are worth something maybe before I've had an internship yet. And now that I've had that, being able to speak on that experience and what I've gained from that as well.
Yeah, I also think sometimes students may undervalue certain things that they've done that they don't put on their resume. I actually had coffee with a student recently, and she's going to have an internship at Dillard's, and that's great. And we were just I met her at a panel, and we talked a little bit, and so we had coffee, and I looked at her resume, and she had ITK ambassador. Or LTK ambassador, like to know ambassador. And I'm like, to me, that was the most interesting thing on her resume. Because if you're an LTK ambassador, and I talked to her a little bit about it, and she told me what we should do, that means she understands commerce. She understands how to create content, right? And, obviously a little bit of media, so to speak, related to that. And I'm like, those are so important skills. And that was one line on your resume. That's what I want to know more about. And so I challenge students to find things like that to participate in outside of your core curriculum, to just get some experience, create a t-shirt shop and a print on demand t-shirt shop, create a YouTube channel, create a podcast. The barriers to get into those things are so low now, and those things actually mean so much. I don't care if you sell $1 million on a t-shirt shop. I don't care if you have, 100,000 followers on YouTube or Instagram. But what I do like to know is that you've thought through that process and you've been able to work through that and create content. And so there's so many transferable skills I think are underestimated, and it could be very valuable and very important to you in opening up that next step for you. So
I was thinking about, there's a student that works in our office, and again, she wanted help with her resume. So I'm looking over it and I start digging in and asking her other questions, and come to find out, which you'll get this, all the big 21st signs that get made, right? She makes those, and she also does a lot of the banners that are for that or for houses and that kind of thing. So she's got this whole business going on that she didn't even put on her resume.
Right.
To your point. Yes. And I was like, you are so creative. And she's wanting to go work for an ad agency.
Initiative.
Yeah. And so we talked about that. I know students sometimes get nervous, should I take this off? It's been, I'm a waiter. At a fine dining restaurant. No, and it's no, you are facing customers and you're, it's client service. So yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. It's definitely one of my number one tips for students as well. So let's talk about some of the gaps between when they start versus, when they went to school. So like, what are some of the biggest gaps when, someone starts at, not necessarily a negative, but like, what are the things that usually have to be worked on right out the gate when, a student comes into a work environment? So Victoria, I don't know if you had thought on that.
I would say one of the gaps is understanding the dynamics and hierarchy of the company that you're working in and learning how to manage up appropriately.
I like that.
That's good. That's a good one.
Anyone want to expand on that? Add to that? I could expand on it.
I love that. And one of the things that I want to start, actually, we're planning on putting it into play in the fall, is starting a Walton Next Gen mentoring program. And I think that's something that these students could learn through a mentoring relationship. And so I'm excited about that. I think that we realize that there is a gap there too. But with our retail advisory board, we are going to launch Walton Next Gen in the fall, and we're going to pilot it kind of small, maybe about 30 students. And they'll have a mentor in industry. And I hope that's a chance for them to kind of see and learn some of that.
Yeah, because I think what's really interesting, and that this may be an issue that we face a little bit more in the South, where we're all very open and friendly and I lead my team that we're equals and I have an open door policy. And yet people still need to remember their personal brand. Right. And the conversation you might have with somebody one level up probably needs to look a little different than 4 levels up.
Right. There's still a totem
But there's
pole.
a gap. Yes. Like you want to make sure that you are presenting that brand and putting forth your best self.
Yes.
Even though we are very friendly and we want to be collaborative and we want to have everyday conversations and get to know people, there's a balance there. And I think that's a skill that takes people a while to learn. And if they learn the hard way, it can damage reputations.
Yeah, I saw that a lot on the agency side as well. I know we've had a lot of conversations about this, Victoria.
I probably learned the hard way.
It's it's like the professional polish and like the casualness. I think people think if you have a career in like, marketing, or you're in digital, or you're in omni or e-commerce, like there's this automatic or creative, like that you don't have to show up or in a professional way. You can be casual. There's this like laxness about things. And so I think to your point, like knowing your audience, bringing your best brand forward, again, showing up with the consistency, all of those things are super critical.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like really the fundamentals, right, of really truly working in a professional environment and bringing some of that professionalism to be prepared, because you don't know who you're going to talk to next, and being ready for that. So Karson, like you have a great gig that you're going to be jumping into here very soon. Is there anything that you feel really confident about going into that role? And then is there anything that you're unsure about? Like what makes you a little bit nervous about that role as you kind of go from intern to full-time employee?
I think I'm just going to be nervous. Like that's how it's going to be. I feel like the year-long internship made a huge difference for me, because I got to be integrated as like a real employee while also having project experience, which was I didn't initially seek out. And then once I found it, I was like, this is definitely meant for me. And so I'm nervous because I have a foundation, but now I'm stepping into a bigger role and bigger shoes and expectations, and making sure that I'm not only meeting them but exceeding them is definitely makes me nervous. But I'm very excited because everyone around me has always supported me, and like I wouldn't be where I am in my role without them. And so I think that there's a mix of both going on for sure, but I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and I love that part, because you really touched again back on relationships that we were talking about earlier. Like you had people that you counted on, that you engaged with, and they helped you. I will say, like, I always offer those types of things to, whenever I teach or I run across a student, I'm always willing to help. The number of students that actually engage, very, very small, right? And so when you have somebody that's willing to help, and you don't take advantage of it, that's, it's your loss, right? It's a missed opportunity. And it's not about me, but what I'm just saying is, like, if you're going to reach out to somebody and you want to connect with them, be intentional. What do you want to learn? Have a conversation, and you can learn a lot, right? You can learn a lot. Like, I'm an old man. I've been through a lot in the 4 quarters of my career. And so I could probably give you some input on some things. So, take advantage of those people who really want to help. And if you run across them, take advantage of it. Take that opportunity as well.
On that, like, I was so glad you said, like, you had this support system. I think that's, like, so critical, even when you're established in your career, to have that. Like, I think people call it a board of directors or a board of mentors or sponsors or whoever it is, to go to for different things. Like, there are things I will go to BV or Victoria for, and they may be completely different. And so I think it's important. Yes, don't miss an opportunity, but also expand, like, where those opportunities come from, and try and seek out mentors who maybe have skill sets that you are looking to develop in.
Sure.
So that you can learn from that.
Yeah, and I would also say, when you do take advantage of those opportunities, be prepared.
Yes.
Because there are some people that have taken the advice to reach out to me, but then they show up expecting me to lead the conversation. And I'm like, well, I don't know what you want to know. So be prepared, be purposeful, I think maybe is a better way of saying it. Like, what is it that this person offers that you need to learn or want to learn? And come in with a couple of questions to get that conversation going.
Yep. Awesome. All right. Great conversation. Now we're going to move into the bold vibes part of the podcast. So this is where I'm going to throw out some things. You tell me if you agree or disagree. If you want to expand briefly on it, you can. So I'm just going to go, and everybody's going to get a chance to answer these questions. All right. So question 1, AI will reduce entry-level jobs. Agree or disagree? Victoria?
Disagree in client service industries.
Disagree, also dependent upon the industry.
Yeah, I would say disagree. At least I certainly hope so for their sake.
Agreed. I agree with Anne. I disagree. Just hoping that maybe with the tools we'll develop more entry-level roles or something. So
And just a shift in what those look like, maybe.
Yeah.
That's the hope.
All right, next question. The most valuable skill in 5 years will be technical. Agree or disagree? Karson?
disagree. I think, as we've talked about this whole time, brainstorming, creativity, communication, all of those things are going to become even more crucial because we all have that new tool that we're utilizing and becoming pros at some point.
Yep. Anne?
Yeah, I would agree with Karson on that. I think we're going to, I think the more that we get used to AI and automation, we're going to crave some human things, human connection, human touch, the human judgment. So yeah, I agree with you.
Sarah?
Disagree. Human capital. That's our luxury. That is the luxury good. That's the currency.
Victoria?
I agree somewhat,
Okay.
but I think it's different, not necessarily technical in the way that we're talking about it. So where my head goes to that question is more thinking about we're going to need more of those technical skill sets like electricians, plumbers, etc.
Yep.
It's true.
Agree. All right. Sorry, Anne, but on this one. But college is keeping up with AI. Agree or disagree? I'll start with Sarah first.
Okay. And just to plug Walton College of Business, I'm also an executive MBA grad, and cannot say enough good things about Walton College. I think you all are the exception and the outlier to this. I think universities are they are one of the, industries that is probably being disrupted by AI,
Sure.
and they are probably having to quickly come out with a point of view, how they adapt their learning, how they do business, and how they recruit. Yeah.
Anne?
I mean, again, I'm talking about it every day,
Yeah.
all day at work. So I think Walton College is a little different. She talked about taking a course. I mean, we've got two gentlemen in particular that are mind-blowing in terms of the amount of knowledge that they have. We have the AI task force, again, the exchange. We're doing all these different things because we don't want to be left behind. Like, we're trying really hard to make sure our students are going to be day one ready. That's our motto. They got to be day one ready. And that's, again, I think AI, I love how you say that, just AI readiness. It doesn't mean, it's changing every day. Like you mentioned, when Brandon comes and speaks to my class, he puts a thing up that says disclaimer by the end of this an hour talk, like all of this could be gone.
All
like
of this that we're doing now is like the worst version.
And so I think that we're doing our best to make sure our students are day one ready in a lot of ways. And now just AI is going to get weaved through that. It's ours.
Yeah, so I would say disagree, other than U of A. I think smaller colleges, liberal arts colleges are not keeping up.
Okay.
It's
Karson,
hard.
what do you think?
It's hard.
I think that Walton is definitely the exception. The U of A is an exception, but I also think I've seen like how challenging it still is there. Like as a topic, we are discussing it. We have classes about it, but as like individual professors, like having to navigate what that means in their class is still a challenge, and is still something they're going to have to figure out. So kind of in the middle on that one, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And the last one, and we'll start with you, Karson. Students today are more prepared than previous generations. Agree or disagree?
I think it depends on like what we're saying with prepared, which I guess is kind of going around the question.
You take it where you want to take it.
I think that in terms of like adaptability and having tools to brainstorm and all of these different things, students have that ability. Like there's so many more resources now and they're learning how to utilize them. But I think in terms of maybe just starting an entry-level role, the tradition of getting the basics and all of those things, they might not be, because the 4 years that they've had, is that going to translate? Like they don't know the answer yet. And so I think they're more adaptable, but in terms of tradition and a lot of things that have built really strong careers, it's going to be interesting how that plays out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Anne, agree, disagree?
What was the question one more time?
The question is, students today are more prepared than previous generations.
Yeah. I mean, all right, I'll be a dinosaur here for a minute, but does anybody know what overhead transparencies are? All right.
Yeah.
So when I first started teaching, like that's what we used, right? Overhead transparencies. I think I'm blown away now that little kids are using technology, right? And we're seeing AI brought into elementary schools in different ways as mentors and coaches. And so I think that the level of just being able to adapt, like you talked about, is I'm seeing that in the class. Like they're not afraid to try new things. They're not afraid to adapt or afraid of change.
Right.
Whereas someone like me, it's harder, right? It's harder for us to feel, I guess, confident in the changes that are taking place so fast. Whereas I think for you all, it's just like commonplace. Like everything's moving at a pace that's so fast anyway that it's just easy. So I think they're probably more prepared in that way. But I also kind of agree with you. It's a time where we don't know what it's going to look like, Yeah. And so I think they have a level of anxiety. I don't know if it's unpreparedness.
Right.
It's just like
a
level of anxiety.
A little bit on their heels versus on their toes. Yeah, for sure. Sarah, thoughts?
Victoria and I were actually talking about this one, and we were a little bit mixed on this one, because I think I'm probably more in the closer to Karson's camp on some of these things. To your point, like the resources, the tools, I mean, you have more now at your disposal than ever. I think just the unknown. I think some of the attitude and emotional intelligence and professional maturity to bring them into this is still maybe a little bit tough, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
Sounds like we have some work to do on that for sure. So
it's hard. Soft skills stuff is difficult for sure.
Absolutely.
So agree and disagree. Agree that they are prepared for change and technology, and they have so much more access to information. That is where they're more prepared. Where they're less prepared, I'm going to go back to COVID has really set some things back.
Oh, 100%.
I agree.
And,
Totally agree.
We haven't talked a lot about that, but where I see that playing out is uncomfortable making phone calls, uncomfortable in group situations. The social side of it, very resistant to coming into the office, and all of that is critical to build those relationships. So in some ways they're less prepared, and I think that's less prepared emotionally for what we ask of people to do.
I hope. Do you all think COVID is a really good point that we didn't bring up, but I'm
sure.
really hoping that after a certain period of time, we can have a reset.
Yes.
Because I do see it in college too, that something happened after COVID.
Yes.
And for sure it's impacted some things. And so will there be a period where we reach sort of, we're past it far enough that this new group that's coming in will be different? And that's kind of what I hope. Yeah.
And I hope that's what college brings.
Right.
Because I think in social settings,
Yeah.
how children and teenagers are even engaging with their peer set is
Yes.
not the same.
Yeah.
Right? They're more on a device. They don't
Right.
call each other. They game together. They're not out in the world together.
Yeah.
So some of that is because of technology.
Yeah.
But that could be a whole nother podcast.
That could be a whole
Well,
other
yeah.
Well,
there's-
like my daughter's one that started college her freshman year. Like she was the senior in high school that didn't get prom, didn't get graduation. Her freshman year for 30 hours. I mean, it was all online.
Yeah.
And, so that's going to impact you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I definitely appreciate the COVID, the COVID thing. I actually was teaching at the University of Arkansas at the time when COVID actually hit. And so here I was planning to do this, in-person class. And then all of a sudden after spring break, we were online and everybody had to
Yeah.
figure it out. Luckily, I was able to do that and continue to do that for, a few semesters. And so it was, definitely a big change. And it had a huge societal impact, right?
It did.
There are these inflection points in life that cause some of these ripple effects that we don't know at the time what impact it will really have. COVID was one. Now AI is the other, right? And so, I think we could talk about all of this probably for another 2 hours, but we got to kind of wrap things up before we get kicked out of here. And I can never come back and never use the coffee shop ever again. But I think we can all admit AI is changing our lives, everybody's lives. It's changing how work is going to get done. But a career and even starting a career is still going to be about learning, growth, relationships, skills that on the surface may not necessarily be skills that are obvious and just take time to develop, and AI can't shortcut that, right? I think it just feels weird right now because everything is very messy. Like it feels like society is messy. It feels like AI makes everything messy. And I think it makes everybody, as I was saying a minute ago, like more on their heels than on their toes, right? On what feels right. And so I think that's all part of that. And that's why we're having this discussion, right? To think about, what Karson and her other students like Karson, what they're thinking about as they go into their first role, and what professional organizations are looking at when they're looking at students and what their expectations are. And then how do we prepare for that and help prepare those students for those things? So I really, really do appreciate having each and every one of you. You all are great friends and so gracious with your time to be on the show. So I'm going to give you an opportunity for a shout out or a plug. Is there something that you're working on or something that you want to plug to the audience before we wrap things up? So I will start. Do you have something, Victoria?
Yes, I have something.
Go ahead, Victoria.
Yes. So I would encourage anybody looking to get into the retail commerce industry to follow the Mars United blog. We put out a lot of thought leadership. And one thing that has been very informational for agencies, clients, retail media networks is we have a retail media network scorecard that goes through, and
that's actually one of my favorite documents.
yes,
I use it quite a bit, actually.
Yes, we publish
I use it to
quarterly.
train our AI with it. Thank you.
We publish it quarterly, and I will stop there, but be sure to check out our blog and follow us.
Awesome. Sarah, anything?
Mine will be not about Nestle, but I sit on the board at the Children's Safety Center.
Good.
April is Child Abuse Awareness Month. Today is NWA Gives Day. So if you're looking for an organization to give back to, that is one that's near and dear to me. And oh my God, that money goes local. It stays right here helping our kids. So yes,
It's amazing.
Love that.
That is an incredible organization. I love that. I guess a couple of things. One is I'm going to brag on Karson for a minute.
Awesome. Hey.
So we give out awards about this time of the year. And so Karson is one of Walton College's seniors of significance. It's a big deal, and very few students get it. And we have a lot of Walton College students. So that's the first plug. Second, I mentioned I'm part of the Retail Advisory Board. So if anybody listening or watching this wants to learn more about it, I'd love for them to reach out to me. I'd love to get Mars and Advisory as part of that. And then finally, just if again companies or people listening. We have so many professors that love to partner with industries, whether it's guest speaking, class projects, whatever. If it interests you and your company to get engaged, reach out to me. I'll plug you in with somebody and make a great, meaningful relationship that way. So, yeah.
Awesome. Karson?
Thank you, Professor Velliquette. I really appreciate that. I guess I would just say if you're a student listening to this, go to the career fairs. We have amazing ones, and that's how I got my internship and now my job. So take any opportunity that you have, and AI is a great topic to discuss. I've had a lot of opportunities to discuss it. So if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, please do. I would love to chat about it.
Awesome. All right. Well, I want to thank you, Victoria, Sarah, Ann, and Karson for being on the show today. I also want to thank Heroes Coffee for hosting us. It's been great to do this here. I also want to thank the audience for being here and supporting the crew and the podcast, of course. It's really important to do things like this within the community, and having you all here is super helpful. So if you want to learn more about my podcast, Retail Media Vibes, if you go to retailmediavibes.com, there's all of the episodes. I think I'm up to like 17 episodes by now. So a lot of BV out there in the internet there, so you can listen to your heart's content. So again, appreciate you all coming out, and as always, I promise I will do better next time. BV out.